The university auditorium was calm and quiet as Emily Harris began her philosophy class. Emily, a young and beautiful woman, was a passionate advocate for her subject. Her students adored her for her charm and in-depth knowledge, and each class was a fascinating journey into the world of thought and philosophy. There was one among the students whom Emily had unintentionally noticed. John Stewart, a 17-year-old boy, attracted attention with his persistence and his ability to ask questions that made even the most experienced philosophers think. During each class, John persistently raised his hand and actively participated in the discussions. However, what was happening after class began to bother Emily. John began to linger in her back office, asking questions that had nothing to do with philosophy. His looks, his youthful passion, and even his smile began to have a growing effect on her. That afternoon, after class, John stayed with Emily in the study. He asked a question about the philosophy of love and began to talk about his own understandings. Emily tried to maintain a professional distance, but the passion in his voice and his penetrating eyes made her vaguely aware that something was changing. Suddenly, John gently took her hand and looked into her eyes. It was a moment of truth when she realized that they had both been captivated by the forbidden lessons of love. A strong attraction had taken over, and Emily couldn't resist the passion that was brewing between her and John. In that small back office, their lips joined in a passionate kiss, and their bodies merged in an embrace. It was the first step on the dangerous path they had chosen. Their romance began to develop, and from that moment on, they would face many challenges and obstacles that forbidden love would put in front of them. For the next few weeks, Emily and John continued to meet after school in her office. Their conversations became more and more intimate, and the passion between them grew with each meeting. Emily felt she was violating her responsibilities as a teacher and wife, but she found it hard to resist the passion John was igniting in her. One cloudy evening, after class, they stayed in the study. John stood up and walked over to Emily, took her face in his hands, and kissed her gently but passionately. Emily resisted for only a moment, then let passion take over. Peter began to notice a change in his wife. She became aloof and often brooding. The strange behavior made him uneasy, and he began to suspect that something strange was going on, but he could not determine what it was. Emily had to masterfully conceal her affair from her husband, but the mystery was beginning to unravel, and the deception could not go on forever. One day, when Peter took a closer look at Emily's phone, he discovered that she had a hidden number from which messages and calls were coming. This became the drop that overflowed the cup of his patience. Peter decides to find out for himself what is going on and follows Emily one day when she meets up with John again. He expects to see something that will disprove his own suspicions. However, when he peeks through the window of the cafe where they are sitting, he sees Emily and John kissing passionately. Anger and rage engulf Peter. He storms into the cafe and screaming attacks John, who was completely unprepared for such an onslaught of aggression. A real scene of violence unfolds before the eyes of the frightened customers. Peter beats John, accusing him of destroying his family and cheating on his wife. John, dazed and with a broken face, is in shock, while Emily stands by, crying and experiencing mixed feelings of grief and accusation. Peter is arrested for beating John, and his case is quickly taken to court. He became a defendant for violence and assault on a minor. Peter felt like a betrayed and cheated husband. He spent several weeks in jail before his attorney was able to arrange bail. Peter was under house arrest awaiting trial. Emily also found herself at the center of scandal. Her affair with John was exposed, and it led to the destruction of her career at the university. She was fired and became known as the faculty member who cheated on her husband with a student. John's parents decided to take advantage of the situation and sued Emily. They accused her of seducing a minor and violating child protection laws. The court proceedings became an additional nightmare for everyone. In the end, the judge rules. Emily is sentenced to 3 years in prison for seducing a minor. This decision puts an end to her career and also tears her family life apart, as her marriage to Peter is shown to be permanently broken. While Emily is sent to prison, Peter is awaiting trial for his case involving John's beating. This continues to add tension and uncertainty to the lives of the characters in this story. Peter's trial was long and tense. He stood before the judge, accused of violence and beating John. His lawyer tried to prove that Peter had acted under the influence of rage and emotion after seeing his wife cheating on him. However, the prosecution insisted that this in no way justified the violence. The judge passes judgment, sentencing Peter to a year in prison. This decision seals his fate and emphasizes that violence is not justified, even in the case of adultery. Emily, while serving her time in prison, begins to reflect on her life and her decisions. She realizes that she has ruined not only her career, but also her marriage, all because of her forbidden passion for John. John, having dealt with the trauma and psychological effects of what happened, decides to start a new chapter in his life. He realizes that he was too young and naive to understand the consequences of his affair with Emily. He rushes off to college and begins to build his future with a clean slate. The families of all the characters in the story continue to suffer because of the aftermath of the events. Emily, Peter, and John, as well as their loved ones, were part of a forbidden passion that led to the destruction of their lives. Lesson from this story: don't let passion and the desire for instant gratification ruin your life and the lives of those you love. Expand your decisions and actions by considering the consequences they may have on you and those around you. That's the end of the story. Write your opinion in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and rate the video with a like. Thank you.